Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're on desktop mining episode 5 with our 2 video card, I guess I still got to call it mining rig, even though I'm going to really think about it as a mining PC. And 2 cards just isn't enough. And as you have noticed, we get a little crazy with techno. And even though it might not be as profitable as we think it is, we got to have the power. So stay tuned and let's find out what's happening. All right, so let's check out what types of things have been going on in the cryptocurrency market real quick. Bitcoin hit an all-time high since the last time we spoke on the mining rig video. And it actually went down in the past few hours. It was around 56.90, I think it was, and dropped about another $100. So it's been going down a little bit, but that's a small correction for hitting that new record high. Ethereum was a little bit higher, dropping down to 315, which is still an okay number for mining, so that's good for the mining rig. And Litecoin, which is the third biggest coin, went down just a little bit as well, but coming off of a high. So it's all looking still pretty good overall for crypto, and that of course makes us happy because we're miners, and the one thing you want to do is mine while there's profitability. So let's talk about how the rig is going and what fun we've had with the rig. At this point, I know in the first video we talked a little bit about all the setup and configuration and some issues that we were having. And again, being IT guys, it wasn't something that was difficult to figure out, but it was definitely time consuming. And then there's the new angles of information, such as mining pools, who's got the best rates, who's got too many people so that you're getting a smaller piece of the pie, and all these details that go for mining pools. And that's something to consider. Then there's the video cards and getting them tweaked and adjusting them to be, I guess I'll say optimum. You don't want to necessarily push the mining card too hard, or the video card, I should say, too hard, because in the end, you're going to burn out that card, early, and you're not talking about a huge difference in performance when you start to boost these. The other part of it is that getting that third video card, at least in this older Intel motherboard, didn't work too great using one of these riser cards. So that was something that we played with a few times and got frustrated. I even went as far as finally saying, I'm going to drop these video cards into my desktop computer just to see if I can get it to run. That Intel motherboard was a little bit older, but is still a high-end, i7 motherboard, which people still have in high demand on eBay. It's going for probably right about the same price that I bought it for. So I said, all right, I'm going to use my desktop computer, also an i7 type computer, and it's an Asus Z97 Pro, and this is a great motherboard. The system runs fantastic. We've got a nice 4790 processor on it, so from the perspective of a computer board, it's great. Now for mining, it's overkill, but that's all right. We've got 3 video card slots, as you can see here, and we've got, of course, a bunch of the smaller PCIX slots, but the problem is inside the machine, between the power supply, CPU fan, cables sticking out of the back here, it was tough to try to fit 3 video cards in here, especially that these are all double wide. So in the end, we just couldn't do it. Then we dropped a riser card in here and said, all right, we'll put 2 video cards and the riser card. And actually, there really wasn't good room for the 2 video cards. So then and again, sorry, but this was in a case. So we then went to the next step and said, all right, 2 riser cards, 1 video card in the case. And it just didn't recognize all 3 cards. Now, there's probably some BIOS settings that we could have done and some other things we could have done. But in the end, we said, you know what? Forget about it. Let's just go to the next level. So that meant we're going to want to build a mining rig. So one of the things that we decided to do was to get an inexpensive, frame from whatever we could find, build it out, and make it just work. Maybe 6 video cards would be the goal. And I'm sure once we build that one, we're going to go crazy and want to build a bigger one just because that's how it is. So let me take a look at where the pictures are. I want to share those with you now. All right, there's the pictures. Let's just open that up. And, this is the frame that we decided to make. It's not, very heavy duty. It's not meant to be too portable. It is definitely, an aluminum frame. It'll support what we're trying to do. Got a little crossbar here that's going to support the video cards on a riser. And we figured we can get about 5 or 6 video cards. I guess once we kind of lay them across here, we'll get to see how much space there is for cooling, and we'll decide if we should go to the 5 or the 6. And then if we get a little crazy, maybe we can even build on the backside another 5 or 6 facing the opposite direction. But that'll be something we'll have to, take as another step. So everything that we've done so far has been these, incremental steps. And it's a good thing because, the complexity in getting everything tweaked just perfect, and not so much the complexity as much as the time involved. And then once you've got that nailed, then it becomes, getting the hardware. So we're going to be getting a motherboard, some basic CPU and memory so that we can drop it in here. As you can see, we've got an HP power supply. We're going to use one of these specialized breakout cards or breakout boards that'll slide right on there to provide power to the video cards. And those are platinum-based power supplies. So what's going to be great is we'll be able to get more efficient power, hopefully bringing our power down as far as cost-wise. So that's, the pretty basic rig that we made. As you can see, that's an actually old ATI video card. Nothing of value when it comes to mining. I bet you the miner would probably laugh and say no video cards found. But yeah, so this is just, a very basic setup that we were doing just to get started, at that next step and, start playing with it a little bit more. Now, as we're getting technical here and talking about the rig, let's go into the next phase of it, which we mentioned the power supply and the power that it takes. And you remember on the first rig video, which was on day 1, I showed you one of these guys. And I'm super happy with this little device, which is the size of an outlet. You can actually put 2 inside of a wall outlet just in case you were worried about losing, the second outlet. And this little guy, I think the one that we bought first was blue. I got this red one. I've got, I think we bought a gray one. And I'm going to definitely use these in several places. I'm not trying to talk to Alexa or, Google and say, okay, Google, turn the lights off. That's definitely not my game with these things, even though they have that ability. So you could kind of get a 2-for-1 with certain things that you want to plug in. But actually, this was all about tracking power. And since we talked about the platinum power of the power supply, and we also talked about some of the details in configuring the rig, power is definitely one of the issues. So let me close that picture. So here's a picture of the actual test rig. And when you go into the software for this little device, you can see the real-time power. So that's kind of cool. That's replacing what we were doing using our kilowatt. That way we can measure the voltage and not have to be right on top of the rig to see, the watts and how much it's taking. But better than that, and the reason that we got this, besides being able to do this and say, hey, look, and this, I can do this from my house when I'm driving the car. I can just go to the rig. One footnote, be careful when you're clicking on the button for the menu right before this, because sometimes it doesn't sense that you're hitting the 3 little buttons on the right and it powers off the rig. Luckily, I set the BIOS in that rig to restart upon power failure. So the rig goes back on and, things go back to work, which is good. But the big thing was to look at the power usage. Let me just click backwards here. Here we go. So here we've got actually that's the month, the week. Here we go. Here we've got the day view, which I wanted to look at first. And as you can see, we're hitting, 10 kilowatts a day. And I know I've got to tweak those video cards a little bit and bring down some of the power. I'm hoping to get it down maybe 40 watts out of the 2 video cards. But as we increase the video cards, I'm not looking forward to seeing what those power numbers are going to be. So anyway, this device's software lets us see this, day view. Then we've got the week view, and it's telling us how much, we've used. So the daily average of about 8 kilowatts and about 22 kilowatts this week. Now, one of the things to note is, because I'm still playing with the rig, trying different pools, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, I haven't been real consistent about leaving the rig running on mining. Sometimes we're playing with it and then we'll crash the rig and we don't find out, for 2 hours that it stopped mining. And we've done different things where we've had outages of work. Also, one of the mining pools that we were using is a little bit of a smaller pool, which means you get a bigger reward when we actually get a block, but those blocks are just a little bit, too few in between. Probably after a handful more of people join it, they'll get a little more frequent. But it's been, a real great experience with that particular mining pool. It's just that we're trying to get test results to see how, the mining is going to be profitable or not. And then last is the month. And here we go, 138 kilowatts. So this is going to help us to figure out our cost for the rig from an electrical standpoint and kind of keep the numbers honest. Now, this is only counting the true power coming out of the rig. The monitor, usually we turn it off, so we really aren't going to count that. And technically, if you have several rigs, you're not going to have a monitor on them anyway. You're going to do everything remote. So this little device has been great. We dropped one of these on my desktop PC. That way, if we do a little bit of mining, we could check out what it's getting, number-wise, how much the power is affected, because the PC is on 24/7 anyway. So again, these little devices are great. I'm going to leave an Amazon link down below, and it is an affiliate link. So if you want to get one of these things and you use that link, that helps the channel. Gives us back a little bit of a commission, so to speak, for referring you, which would be great. And let's get into the next part. So I like my spreadsheets. And if you've watched my cloud videos, you probably saw that the spreadsheets got modified again. And if you haven't, then the last time you saw this spreadsheet, it was a little bit different looking. And this is what we've got going today. We're on day 16, and we've got our data here showing that we've got a potential of 107% of profit. So we're basically going to double our money at the end. And if I take this off of the gross, there's a little gross flag here, which is showing us just the raw numbers of how much our calculated income is. And then if we tell it show the net, it's going to modify that number to then subtract the fees and the power within here. Now, something's probably broken, because I'm seeing here that I'm not getting a highlighted number. And I'm going to have to find out what happened there. I know we've been making some changes, and somehow we're not syncing this file correctly, and it keeps getting trashed. But anyway, as you can see here, if we've got a $515 investment, and we're showing our calculated income based on subtracting our theoretical power costs and our calculated fees, that somewhere around month 12, we're going to pay for that hardware. Now remember, at the moment, the hardware is only those 2 video cards that are running in the rig. As soon as we drop in a motherboard, memory, we'll have to assign a value to that power supply. That's the HP power supply. We're going to get another desktop power supply, which will be a little bit bigger, probably around a 750 or an 850 watt power supply. So there's going to be some added costs, which technically don't bring up the performance of mining. And those added costs are just going to make that number bigger and make it harder to reach a profit. And that's where getting more video cards is going to make sense, because it'll help bring the average down of the power supply, motherboard, and such. So, based on just the rig as it is with 2, it looks like we can make $523 at the end of the time that we're going to say 24 months is our time window to try to make our money back, and to try to potentially maybe even sell the video cards and get new video cards. And that'll change the numbers again. But anyway, so far we've got about 78% of our goal. It's at $32.42. And that's not bad, considering that we're on day 16. So we still have half the month to go to reach 1 month. And these goals are based on a monthly average, based on our mega hash that we have, the forecasted, per mega hash price that we should be able to, or I should say, dollar amount that we should be able to mine. And then lastly, the calculated costs of the fees, which here we've got a Claymore fee, which technically we don't see. So I'm going to have to maybe change the formula here not to subtract this column's values, because since the Claymore fee you don't see and the mining pool fee you're not seeing, these numbers may not be represented in our net actual income prices. Because when we go to the pool, we're getting the amount of net profit after the 1% pool fee. And same thing with Claymore. Claymore mines in the background for itself every so often. So as it's mining, it stops mining for you, so to speak, does a little bit of mining for the developer, and then goes back to mining for you. So that little window is not something that it says, hey, here's your $10 and then we're taking away $1. You're not getting to see that. So I think that this number could be even a little more profitable because we're actually subtracting these calculated fees, which are based on the Claymore fee and the pool fee. And technically, I don't think that that's going to work out correctly. Now, if I go and look at our breakdown of each day's mining, you can see we've got, the one Ether mine pool and we've got the new pool. And, whenever we hit the new pool, we got some big numbers because that's the type of pool where, since they're not finding a block every day, when you're building up the time of mining and you suddenly hit that block, it tends to overlap on another day where you've been mining the whole day on Ethermine. And one of the negatives of what I'm doing is I'm not just leaving it on Ethermine the entire week, not touching the rig, not looking at it. We're playing with things, we're tweaking things, we're investigating what enhancements we can make. And because of that, we're going to get a little bit of an inconsistent set of numbers. So as you can see here, here's a 90-cent day. And then our three highs being just around $4 for these two, and then this one just above 3.5. Those are good. And then today, actually, I don't have a current number. So actually, we can go update that right now. Let me go to the pool here. Let's hit refresh. And what we can see here is that our hash rate has been very consistent. And it's telling us that our reported hash rate is 56 megahash. And our effective hash rate is 59. Now, in some cases, as far as what you're seeing here with that 748 megahash average effective rate, we actually rented from another service some power here where we weren't tracking the money within our mining calculations, but we wanted to see what kind of numbers we could get mining using other people's hardware. And so we went a little bit nuts, and as you can see here, it was pretty high as far as power. Probably a couple of gigahash at that time is what we were reaching. And I think that there was a pool limit of around a gigahash, so that probably was a mistake. But anyway, as far as the cards are going here, they've been very consistent. We've been getting in the high 40s and 50s as our average, so that's been great. And right now, let me just make sure I hit refresh before, which I did. This is how much ETH we've mined so far today, and we reset this number to 0, allowing us to do that little mini test. And as you can see here, we flagged it so that we could remember that we actually took money out of both of these pools and just stuck it into our wallet. Let's update this number right here. And what are we at right now? We're at 97 cents, and we're at a whole 126 so far. Now, this number is based on the 18th, so it's going to continue to go up in value because we're mining for several hours more before we hit the next day. So this is looking good. And as far as that's concerned, that's how we're tracking the daily. You can see here our daily average is about 204, so short of our expectation, but knowing that we're playing around with everything on a regular basis and not just kind of set it and forget it type of running, which, by the way, is what you have to do. You got to just turn it on, walk away, and just don't touch it, don't look at it. Just leave it alone and let it do its job, which is go out there and mine 24/7 at whatever pool it is that you like. And I definitely think we're going to have a video in the future looking at the different pools that are out there, some of the bigger ones, the smaller ones, what the fees are, whether they pay uncle blocks, whether they even pay for transactions. Because as an example, some of the pools will give you uncle blocks and they'll pay for other aspects of mining, but they won't pay the service fees, or I should say the transaction fees, because they use that to support the pool itself. So sometimes in lieu of the 1%, they'll try to do other things to reduce that number. And those are details you've got to pay attention to when you're picking a pool. If you had said, oh, I'm going to mine for a week with one, then I'm going to mine for a week with a second one, then I'm mine with a week at a third one, and then get all the results and compare the three pools, unfortunately, those numbers aren't going to be accurate because the difficulty changes, the volume changes on any given week or any given day. And so that's not going to be a good comparison. You technically would have to have, let's say, if you're going to compare three pools, you'd have to have three rigs with equal power, and you'd have to run them on the same days in order to fairly compare those pools, and then compare the fees, which again, they're not showing you those fees per se, they're just showing you the results. Here's how much you've earned in coin. And so that's going to be something we'll have to dive into and look, because there's definitely a difference with the different pools and what they're offering as far as what they're willing to pay for and what the percentages are. I think some of the bigger pools I've seen were 4%, which is huge. You know, this is not a model business where you're getting a ton of money and you're saying, hey, 4% is no big deal. You're taking small dollars in a rig mining. You know, here's $1.85, $1.26, $2.58. 4% is a huge number when you take it out of the bottom line. So that's definitely going to be an important part of our research going forward. So looking at these numbers, they're looking good. Our cloud mining is looking very good. If you're interested in that, you should check it out. Obviously, Bitcoin doing what it's doing, that's been doing great. And, you know, that's all looking fantastic. Now, I want to update this number as well. As you can see here, I'm a little disappointed actually. Ethereum 308, I think that's another drop from what we were looking at earlier. So, you know, hopefully they're not going to continue on a downward trend. They'll stay stable and go back up. But let's take a quick look at the mining calculators and see if this number is still accurate for today. And I think I've got those open somewhere. Were they there? And there we go. All right. So here we go on Coin Wars, and I want to look at three of them just to kind of get an average of all of them. And what I'm going to do is just put 1 mega hash. And the reason I'm using 1 mega hash is because that's going to allow me to use the formula in the spreadsheet to do the calculation. And we're okay if it's off by a little bit because it's not going to be an exact science. So here, Coin Wars has it at $1.74 a month, which is higher than what we put in there. Then we're going to look at my crypto buddy. We'll put 1 mega hash there. This is at $1.65. And crypto compare, let's go to Ethereum and let's go with 1 mega hash. And they've got it at $1.51. So $1.51, $1.65, and $1.74. So I'll tell you what, we'll take this middle number of $1.65. We'll go update the spreadsheet. And that increases our bottom line to $826. And again, I'm not expecting that to come true because I know the difficulty is going to increase, even though we just had the fork with Ethereum, which changed the amount of payout. They made the difficulty easier by, I believe, half. And then they cut down the amount of reward from 5 tokens to 3. So the number should be a little bit more positive for miners at the moment. We'll see how that works, you know, long term. And right now, as far as what to mine, I'm expecting that they're still going to be up at the top, and we can look at that real quick. Let's just go right here. And it's already got, you know, 480s here, so it knows what I'm using. And yep, Ethereum's still on top of the list. Now, these others are right behind it. So, you know, if Ethereum starts getting, you know, smaller numbers, and we're not going to worry about it too much, but at some point we may want to mine these other coins. And something that we haven't talked about, and again, we will probably have to look at in the future with more detail, we don't want to do it in this video, is just how many coins are you getting when you're mining Sumo Coin as far as the reward is concerned. And same thing with Music Coin or UbiQ, which is dropped down quite a bit, down to 276 a day. So yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed in UbiQ right now, but it's definitely one of the coins I think we're going to be mining in the future. And it's been on the top of this list a few times in the past month. But the amount of coins you get have a different effect as far as profit as well. If in theory you mined, let's say Sumo Coin right here at 386, you'd say, oh, I'm losing just a little bit. It's actually a pretty decent number. But let's say you were willing to do that because you got more coins and you believed in Sumo Coin. Well, now you've got more coins. So as that coin is growing, as far as the dollar value, then because you have more coins rather than a fraction of Ethereum as an example, you have an opportunity to make more money in the end. And remember, you didn't profit until you sold the coin. So as an example, you saw that I transferred Ethereum from both mining pools, and literally we did that today. We didn't sell them yet. So if we would have sold it this morning, we would have probably hit around that 330, 320 mark for Ethereum, and we would have hit perfectly based on today. But really, I think that Ethereum is going to continue to go up, and so we're hanging on to that coin at the moment. But those are the details we'll have to go into another day as to how to read what coin I should mine and why. And one other thing based on that is don't get too crazy and say, oh man, let's go down here, I love Feather Coin. Because at 247, and you loving Feather Coin, then go mine Ethereum, sell the Ethereum, and then with that money, go buy Feather Coin, and you'll be able to buy more of them. So what I just said about, mining a different coin and how many physical coins they give you versus a fraction of a coin, that's going to be for some of those that are in the top 5 and not one, sorry, the mouse is going a little stupid here, and not one that you're going to go down the list and say, oh, I'm going to mine this lower coin. Even Monero here at 333 is too much of a difference. And if you really want Monero, then go mine Ethereum, sell it when you get the coin, and then go buy Monero. But here, when you are within, let's say, 20 to 50 cents, then it may make sense, if you believe Sumo Coin's going to be good down the road, then mine it and have a bigger amount of coin, which hopefully as it goes up will give you a higher result. Something else to think about. So you can see there's a lot of details for mining that have to be paid attention to. So having said that, we reviewed our current status as far as the market. We took a look at our profitability and how that's doing as far as the desktop rig, which is going pretty good. And even though it's maybe just a bit shy, let me take a quick look. Because we're at 68%, again, we just updated this to $1.65. We're at 68% of where we want to be. That's okay because we keep playing with the rig and tweaking it. Hopefully when this month is over, we'll have the rig set up in its new rig frame, and it'll have maybe an extra video card or two, maybe not. That depends on eBay and the luck of finding a card. And it will be running without being touched, so that next month we could just let it sit there, not even look at it, maybe look at the results online, but not look at it and just let it run. And so that's going to be nice so that we could get a real report as to how profitable it is. And that's kind of what this whole thing has been about. It's always been about researching, being very technical, learning all the details of it. Even though we've done it in the past a little bit, everything changes, everything evolves, and kind of get up to speed on the current status of everything and see if it's profitable. And if it is, even if it isn't, I'm sure we're going to still be mining here just because that's the type of nerdy stuff that we would do. Because we like the rig, we like the power, we like the hardware aspect of it. It's really been enjoyable because that's what we do. But bottom line is, it also has to be profitable. If we turn the rig on and we're going to lose money, then the rig's got to go. So if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe. That way you're aware of all the other videos as we're doing. And we hope that you have some comments that you could share with us down below. If there's something maybe that I said wrong or that you've got an idea on or you're mining a different way, please share that information, because that's only going to improve not only the channel, but improve our rig so that we can do better at, mining as well. Appreciate you listening to the video, and we'll talk to you next time.